Hey, Pastor Paul here. Hey, when I was raising my kids, there were a bunch of words that we couldn't use. We told them they were bad words. And, that's back when the kids were so young that they think the S word is stupid or shut up. Well, there were always words that the kids couldn't say. And one of those words was hate. You were never allowed to say hate. I mean, you couldn't say I hate him or hate her or I hate this. And because it was just such a strong word to hear coming out of a person, especially a little person. But today we're going to find out that Jesus uses the hate word. And the crazy thing about it is he actually is going to tell us to do this. And we hear Jesus talk about love all the time and love everyone. And now we're going to hear Jesus use a bad word. But there's something about in this bad word that he wants us to learn about love through. Let me read to you out of Luke chapter 14 what he says. Now large crowds were going along with Jesus. And he turned and he said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So here's Jesus using the bad word. He's using the hate word. And it's kind of a head scratcher when you hear Jesus do it. So I thought at first, well, okay, maybe we're not understanding something here. Like maybe there's a Greek word that's not being interpreted right, or maybe this is the way Jewish people talked and we just don't kind of understand it. But when researching that, that's really not the case. He actually uses the word hate. But then I was kind of like, well, wait a minute. He can't be contradicting other places where he talks. Like, for instance, in the Ten Commandments, the fifth commandment is how we're supposed to honor and love our mothers and fathers. Or when the Apostle Paul talks about husbands loving their wives and loving their children. So there's got to be something going on here with this usage of the word hate. And what he's doing is creating this distinction of what love is. A lot of people say something funny like, love is love. But there's really no distinction in that. But what he is saying, he's trying to communicate to us that discipleship calls us to a highest love, a distinction from other things. That Jesus is supposed to be like the first love of our life. So he's using relationships, fundamental relationships, something that we can all agree upon. As an example, he kind of like takes this audience and he puts brackets around this concept of relationship, of mother and father and husbands and wives and children, because we all understand the goodness of those relationships. We all desire these relationships. Jesus actually brackets those because he knows we'll understand this idea of putting him first in front of the most essential of relationships. But he technically could have bracketed anything. For this particular audience, he bracketed these relationships. But with other people, he bracketed other things. For instance, there's the story of a young rich ruler. Guy, he's got a lot of stuff, he's got cool gadgets. When he talks to Jesus about following Jesus and loving Jesus, Jesus challenges him or brackets something in his life. And for this young man, he brackets the issue of wealth. Because this young man really wasn't overwhelmed by the issue of his relationship with his parents or someone else. That wasn't his thing. It wasn't his bracket that got between him and Jesus. For him, it was his wealth. And so Jesus tells him to go and sell all that he has, because that's the thing that's between him and Jesus, that bracket of wealth. And so Jesus has to move that out of the way. I think we all have brackets. We all have things that we don't want Jesus to mess with. We want to follow God. We want to go to heaven. We want to be forgiven. We don't like the bad place. But there are some things we bracket and we really want to keep in our lives. And Jesus will challenge us about the things that we have bracketed. For some of us, we may have bracketed the issue of sex. And Jesus will challenge that. For others, it may be an issue of relationships. And he's going to challenge that. It can be possessions, it can be career, it can be a philosophy of life. There are so many things that we can put between us and Jesus. What we need to realize is that it's not like there are many things that are intrinsically bad or things that Jesus doesn't want us to have relationship with. But there is one thing that he wants us to put first, and that's him. And that's the call of discipleship. He wants us to be focused on Him first in that love relationship. Everything else, He wants to move out of the way. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.